I've always been quite a builder. I don't know, since the age of 6, I've been building things. I love Lego, right?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Roast My SaaS. We're here with Max, and we're going to go deep into his product and service and really try and roast him today. So, without further ado, I'll pass you over. Sorry, everybody. Welcome to Top of the Hunt, where we're going to talk about his journey so far. I thought I would catch him back after he caught us all on Product Hunt. Anyway, Max, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. So, do you want to talk a little bit about your gimmick on April the 1st? So,
Right.
what was it? Where did it come from?
Straight from here. Just thought of it like a week and a half before April Fools. Was like, got to do something for April Fools. What's going to be funny? Okay. AI wearable that replaces your emotions. You don't have to smile. You don't have to be upset. You just show someone this emoji, and it's an AI that emotes for you. So I thought that people will find that funny.
They did. It came fourth on Product Hunt, which is quite an achievement for most people when they take it incredibly seriously. Did you invest a lot of time and effort into getting it fourth, or was it just put it on
Uh,
and let's see?
No, it was honestly, we did do some reach out, just like jokingly, mostly to people who already are supporting our tap launch. So we were like, hey, we're doing this launch, pivoting, humane, killed us just as a joke. And that made people click, made them interested. So that definitely was something. I was really the one in the team that stayed up as the founder. So that's basically where the traction came from originally. And from there, I guess other people found it funny and yeah,
No,
just got for fourth
'cause
place.
I was looking at it. I was thinking, do you know what? I know this is a joke, but it's a lovely looking device. It's a very good mock-up, and having that ability in the future, perhaps it might be almost like a small phone, isn't it? But it was a lot nicer looking than some tech I've seen. Are you going to tell me a bit about your background?
So it's me and my brother. We're co-founders. We're co-founders of Whole Systems. I've always been quite a builder. I don't know, since the age of 6, I've been building things. I love Lego, right? I love building vending machines, just, getting like the coins to work properly, return the wrong coins, different types of candies come out, whatever. So stuff like that. I've always had a eye for design, right? So I'm a self-taught designer. I learned that because when I was 10 to 12, I was doing affiliate marketing. That's how I learned how to make websites. But yeah, that's my background also. Yeah, just in terms of family, business, and stuff.
It's interesting because it's Warren Buffett. One of his first jobs was a paper round, and you'll be able to look back. And obviously, a paper round when people don't want newspapers delivered anymore, what do you do? Oh, we done affiliate marketing instead. We were building websites at 10. Most people today can't build websites as adults, let alone when they're 10. So you've clearly been very technical from a young age. It's fantastic. So, what's the background of your brother? Is he entrepreneurial, or have you dragged him along for the ride?
He has his own apps that he builds. They're more, I'd say, SaaS oriented. He's building other things that are more back-end tools for software for companies. I can't speak on that much, but he's much more organizational and much more legal oriented. And I'm much more of the vision person behind everything. So I think that's a great split between us. What we're building is basically, I would say, your afterlife in a sense. So we are creating an AI that will learn about you as you talk to it, right? So every time you interact with it, it's basically learning about you as a person. It's collecting small pieces of information, the small details that it could later on use in future interactions. And we also have a sub brand which is responsible for the hardware, which is called Tap. And that's what I'm wearing right here. As it currently stands, this is just a general purpose AI. So you could talk to it, you could ask it questions.
Okay, that's interesting. From that, you and your brother as co-founders, and as you said, it's the afterlife. What's inspired the pair of you to create that?
The inspiration behind that is really since I was a kid, I think I've seen Iron Man, I'd say 30 times at least, the original
Okay.
for Iron Man 1. So That's definitely Jarvis, Tony Stark, from that being a big inspiration. But as I keep going through each day, I realize how much data is lost, how much important data that I wish I could go back to, that I could recollect, that I could somehow utilize in this new thing that I'm doing now. That I remember there was this conversation, but I don't remember what exactly happened. I don't remember what conclusion I came to. All these little pieces of data that are kind of, the way I like to describe it is, it's every interaction that we're having is like a piece of sand that falls in your hand,
Mhm.
and it just slips through, and it just blends in with the rest of the beach, right? So you have all these memories, but there's no real organization, no real way to recollect and connect these ideas.
You've painted a very vivid picture in my head as you were saying that there's a sand slipping through somebody's hand. I imagined them perhaps inside a sand timer. And obviously, the relationship between your memories and time passes, and as you get older, I know there's certain things that I wish I remember perhaps going back 15, 20, 25 years now. And I think it's at the time, barring having a dictaphone, which would have probably been a bit weird to have done that every day, there would have been no way to have recorded it. It's an interesting concept. So, from what you're creating, obviously, you've got this generalized AI in the system, but then you've also got the physical product you're building. Is the intended use for the AI to be like a personal capacity, or is it because it's attached to you for life, it's every possible application you could have?
So, what we're focusing on with Operator is building out the memory aspect first.
Yeah.
So, specifically making sure that it actually understands you as a person, right? It's your best friend, it's your companion that knows details, all the details about your life, what you're working on. So, later on, when we do go ahead and work on actions for it, it will be able to act upon certain things very correctly, right? So you wouldn't want it to send an email to someone important without actually understanding everything that stands behind that.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Okay, I think with Tony Stark and Iron Man, you've made my imagination run wild as to where the possibilities could go. I imagined longer term. Obviously, you've got all of my memories, and then I say perhaps it's able to track my GPS and other things, and I'm in Japan, and it's able to help me translate what's going on in front of me and help me understand perhaps a conversation that's happening and other things. And it's a very wide application when you're used to tapping it on your chest.
For sure. There's the idea is that every piece, every interaction that you have with it is adding to its personalization, right? It's tailoring itself, so it's creating its own persona,
Hmm.
and it's creating a human for you, basically. So it's organizing your interests, maybe something that someone told you to read, someone told you to watch something, someone told you in general some kind of idea that now you're working on something, and that comes into context that could remind you of that and bring that into context.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I know it's particularly for founders. I saw a post from a YC founder from Deal.Wise, and he was saying that I think 26% of the cohort he knew, it was about a third of the cohort, had already gone out of business or was stuck in pivot hell. And quite a lot of that was because of co-founder disagreements. And I know most of the disagreements that I've had with my co-founders was based upon a perspective of a conversation that we had a while ago that wasn't particularly well formalized. And then we're in a position where obviously if we'd have been able to say, hey, what was that conversation we had again? You said this, they said that, and the agreement was this. Right, see, I knew I was wrong. Perhaps could have helped solve some of those problems. It's a very interesting and wide use case. Very quick from AI to be generally used to where you're looking to take it. It's very innovative very quickly. From there, obviously I'm a bit older. I can remember pre-Iron Man when there was cartoons and stuff. How would security work for this? I've told you everything. Where's that information going to be stored?
So the information is stored in the cloud, but you have to understand that we are not creating a full on transcription and storing that. What we're doing is we're specifically picking out details that are important, that could be important for later context, and so then it could bring that in for later conversations. So in this case, there is no full on database of just like word for word what you said.
Would it be like my own personal vector database in essence?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, it's exactly that. It's a vector database. That's what helps with the relationships. That's what allows it to really build this relationship context.
I can imagine in different contexts in the future, perhaps people could look and say, actually, guys, can we tap into your API and then you can share some of that across as business notes and other things?
For sure.
I'm caught in an awkward position of understanding what you're doing and thinking it's so innovative and not wanting to give you too many compliments because it's not my intention to be overly complimentary, but it's an interesting application. No, fantastic. So from there, obviously, you're talking about the physical tech and having the tap system. It's on you now. Does that mean it's a bit available for people to buy?
Not currently. We will be launching soon also on Product Hunt. And I believe this is currently in debate right now, but we will most likely be doing that in parallel with a launch on Kickstarter.
Yeah, see
And
that.
we'll be launching 100 devices, and we'll do no pre-orders other than the Kickstarter ones in terms of first come first serve for the first 100 devices. This will be solely to just understand how people use them, how people interact, what they want to use it for, right? Like I know what I use my tap for, using it while I'm testing it, but I want to see how other people in general use it, right?
Definitely. I know my technical co-founder. He's got a graveyard of things that he's bought from Kickstarter, and he's also got a long list of things that he hasn't received. He's been on Kickstarter for, I don't know, 12, 13 years and loved every product that's ever been sent to him. And he's always rooting for them to go on to do a lot better than some of them have done. And I can remember he was the first person to have VR. So I think he'll be on your wait list, and hopefully I'll get on the wait list before anybody else sees this video or sees your product, because he'll be upset if he's not one of the first 100, I'd have thought.
That sounds great. That's awesome.
Will you be delivering to the UK? That would be the only question.
I believe we'll be shipping internationally, so yeah.
If not, we'll pay extra for shipping. It's not a problem. So what sort of price point are they at then?
$59.
$59. So on the flip side, obviously you've got the idea of I could pick up my phone. Perhaps I could have even your app on there. What's the difference between having tap and a phone? Why would people want it?
So this is a tethered device to the phone applications. Unlike Humane and Rabbit, which are standalone devices, we are processing everything on your phone, just like I would say the first Apple Watch.
Mm.
It would hand off most of the processing that would be done on the phone. The reason we want to do that is because the tap device is an extension of the operator, an extension of how it could be in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the ways you can interact with it, but the other ways you can interact with it will be on your phone, will be on an app via your computer. So it will be able to be in different parts of your life differently, right? So if you're out and about walking around, you probably want to use your tap device. You don't want to Google search and look down on your phone and be completely out of like the space, like you're walking around with your friends. You don't want to be on your phone looking something up. You just want to ask it, have the answer without even breaking any eye contact with other people. So it,
Yeah, I can see that, because I suppose as well you also have, if you were to have different colours, that could fit across somebody's tie quite easily. It look like a tie pin, and then at that point, people wouldn't even necessarily. You've just done this in the middle of a conversation. You're taking notes.
for sure,
Um,
I could move it to the middle. The current version I have is a modified version, which has a magnet.
yeah,
We're playing around with the magnet version
yeah,
currently for future batches.
that's fantastic. You wouldn't even know it was there if you had that as across as a tie pin or even a pattern on your top. It's interesting, and I suppose you're right, because obviously part of it is stopping sometimes if you've got a brand new iPhone in, I wouldn't say the wrong part of town, but certain parts of most big cities now, you've got different type of risks of getting your phone out and looking like a tourist. So having the ability to be like, which way am I going, or whatever it might be that you're able to do, it'd be wonderful, yeah. And as you say, the eye contact, oh blimey, it's a different world in the future. Did you do much to validate this with other people, or is that still the process you're going through now?
So that's the process that we're going through now. The feedback that we've been seeing on Twitter, on Product Hunt is phenomenal, right? People just messaging me on LinkedIn, just finding us from both the operator side and the tap side. I don't think I explained this well enough, but the tap itself will have its own application also, apart from the operator, which will be more general purpose AI. It'll be much easier to understand, much easier to just use. Almost like ChatGPT that you just carry. There's no learning features, nothing of that sort that you have to wrap your head around. So we're trying to play a couple of sides of the game, make sure that everyone has a version that would be useful for them, basically.
Yeah, I can see, because the point of saying it functions like an early Apple Watch conceptually, see, as time progresses and the usefulness of it, the more that you can bring to the system and the more you can bring into the app, the different integrations that it has. The hardware itself for Tap, it could enable you to do almost anything. I want to go home, and then you're in, which state are you in? New York?
Yeah, New York
Yeah.
City.
So you're over in San Francisco finishing some type of meeting with a VC. Yeah, I want to go home, and then you can get your Uber and a flight and everything booked along the way, and it knows exactly what's going on. And then you've got a flight back to New York, and then a taxi back from New York to your house. It would be mind blowing versus where we've been. It's interesting.
For sure. And but the point that I want to make, the reason that we're working on memory first before actions, unlike humane, is specifically I wouldn't trust it to book me a flight if it didn't know, do I like a window seat, or do I like the middle seat, or do
Yeah.
I like the it doesn't, it has to understand me as a person, and the only way to do that is to really have it with you, always learning about you as you interact with it.
I understand that part, because it's obviously the memory. I was assuming the memory was already there. Sorry, so it's with the memory. It's I don't really know how to articulate further. It's just boggling at how much usefulness you would have from a personal secretary with you 24/7, who knows the decisions that you would make ahead of time, perhaps better than you would. There's a lot of. I think you've got a bigger market than perhaps you'd have first thought. Obviously, it takes some time to get there and early adopters to come and everything, but it's a potentially very wide application. So for Tap, are you looking to extend the product line? Will there be different versions, variations? Will you have one? What's the long-term plan?
So we're looking to really make it like the GoPro of wearables. We want different attachments, we want different colors, cases. We're looking at a lot of options, but the point of it is really with each version, we're not changing the operator. We're not, it's just extending its memory. So everything that it already learned, it already knows, and we're never gonna remove that. The
Mhm.
point is, at one point, really, if the reason I call it your afterlife is this is more of a dark note, but the point I wanted to be, the point I wanted to get to is at a point where if you pass away, your relatives, your friends could enable, you could have a mode set up for them to talk to you, right? In a way where it could clone you almost. So they could talk to a version of you that, and it would know, and it would answer exactly how you would answer.
And I know it's a little bit morbid to think, but unfortunately for us all, there's death and taxes. So it's an eventuality, whether we like it or not. So I think from that perspective, you're right. As you were saying that, I was thinking back to some of the advice my grandfather I've heard. He passed away when I was very young. I think I was like 10. So I've got some memories of him, but not a lot. And I can remember some of the advice later on in life that I heard my grandmother passing on. Your granddad would have said this, your granddad would have said that. Like one of the ones he was famous for apparently was always leave the table hungry. One, it was always to give you ambition to keep striving for more, but the second to stop you from getting fat. So perhaps if I'd had that memory with me, I would have avoided it a bit better. So it's, yeah, I can see the value in that, and I know obviously a lot of people when they're going through grieving processes. I've seen people use a voicemail. They'll phone up a deceased relative and
For
say,
sure.
"Hey, please leave a message after the tone," and just that little hearing their voice often it has changed their mood, at least whilst they're going through early stages of grief. So it's an interesting application, and I know, as you say, it's perhaps a bit negative, but it's a reality for us all. Is this product going to be, as you say, the GoPro, but it should understand a lot more than the rest of the other systems? I saw the Rabbit, and that seemed very clever tech, but perhaps not that well informed on how you'd make decisions initially. So is like the longer term vision to be a generic use case, or is it going to be specialist in certain areas?
So I really wanted to be as generic as possible. I wanted to be helping you with your personal life, with your work. I wanted to understand everything. It needs to be your secretary, your best friend at the same time in order to really help you at the interval that it could, right? It needs to really understand your whole life, right? In terms of Rabbit, what I believe is their actual product is the lamb model that they have made. What I think is the product with the Rabbit device that they're making, I think that it's more of a marketing gimmick than an actual device, that it's more of a toy, because the device itself, it's you're not going to be ordering just Ubers with it and having it send emails again because of the fact that it's not learning about you. This lamb model is very useful and could be utilized in many different scenarios. The thing is, the reason I don't think they're just releasing it like ChatGPT is the first thing that would happen if that was released is it would be used for scamming, for bots, for all of these horrible things that they don't want to be associated with. So they want to put it in a device that's useful, that could showcase the reason for this product, and then find a way how to later on release this product in a different format.
So you've mentioned that your launch is coming soon, so it must be within the next 20 days or so then.
I've been emailing Product Hunt about pushing the launch back. So there's a couple of issues there, but we will be launching, I believe, or in May. Yeah.
Okay, because it's the first physical product I've seen on Product Hunt, I think. Certainly over the last 2 months or so. I think there was one for a dog, to help with dog, like help with losing a dog, a bit like a GPS, I think. But that done very well as well. I can't remember what it was called. So it's interesting that you've done that. Is it attached to the same launch, so you'll be able to notify all of the people that voted you this time?
No, it's actually a separate launch. I don't think Product Hunt would let us do that.
Oh, it's a shame because it's very clever. So, and I suppose in the future, then, is this inspiration for future marketing efforts where it's a bit of tongue in cheek and gimmicky?
Yeah, I don't know. I just like being playful with my marketing. I don't like taking it seriously. I think other people, other companies take it a little too seriously. You gotta have some fun with it. I was looking at what Airbnb did with their cereal boxes,
Mhm.
so might take some inspiration there.
There's been a few good gimmicks along the way. I'll have a look for some from the archive in my mind that if I'd only stored, I'd have been able to give you. If I'd have had the operator and tap, I'd have been able to give you here and now. In the future of AI and wearables now, like where do you see this progressing? How do you see this evolving over the next few years? Where are we going to be?
I think that there's going to be a couple of AI wearables in that will really be the iPhone in this space. Where what happened with the iPhone was there with the first iPhone, there was a very limited run,
Hmm.
and people looked at it. People were like, "Why?" But the people who had it, they loved it, and they didn't put the thing down. And that was even before the App Store. So I think that's where we are at now with Tap. I think as soon as operators integrated with Tap will be the iPhone with the App Store. And yeah, with that, we'll be able to integrate and build out different tools for other people to integrate with our device's memory, right? So we could start working on different actions and almost like apps that it could do for you.
So it's as that sort of evolves. Will Tap have the ability to talk back now?
Yeah, make sure it's connected. So this is a demo alpha, I would say, app. Okay. Hey, what's the weather in New York City right now? Let's see if you can hear it.
Currently, the weather in New York City is 57 degrees Fahrenheit and mostly cloudy. There is a 5 hands of rain. This information comes from the Weather Channel's website.
Very clever. So obviously, already the application could be very wide. I know you focused on memory, but you could say, could you ask it? Could it work as like a GPS at the moment? Do you think? So if I said, to it,
Uh,
how do I get to the tube station from here?
yeah, with the tap, as soon as the tap application itself launches, if you allow it to have your location, it will have your location. So it could help you with directions. It would have the weather, it would have general base details like that that it could just help you with. Yeah.
It's very clever. I think it's the development of what you're doing has caught me off guard a little bit. Usually, people when they're saying something, I've got a proper relationship in my mind, but my vector database internally is not working because I don't have any reference points. So
Okay.
I don't want to be critical because there's nothing to critique yet. You're very early to have that type of conversation of, as you're saying, you're currently validating and you'll be iterating and you'll be moving through and potentially launching yourself perhaps. I suppose we could go down the route of looking at, you're going to be looking for VC and other things. But outside of that, it's more just, I'm blown away that you and your brother have looked to build something physical and then you've launched it. And it's hats off for wanting to launch something. And it's perhaps the afterlife may not be your strongest marketing word. It's more companion for life. And then somebody,
Yeah, that's definitely glass half full, half empty
yeah.
type of scenario.
But so I suppose that after, are you going to be going down the route looking for VC and things?
Yeah, so we'll definitely be looking for investors. And just to give you some background, I have actually launched an IoT device in the space before. The first thing that I've launched when I was 17 on Product Hunt, you could look at my profile. I launched MeLink, which was digital business cards. So it was a free digital business card that you would sign up. And then if you would like to, you could also get a card or a tag that you could stick onto your phone and you could share your business card like that. From that, taking a lot of lessons from that, definitely with working with manufacturers and just working that into software, that's where we come up with TAP basically.
Okay, because a lot of I see me like 2020, so it was what 3 years ago. Because I was smiling when you were saying it because somebody's recently contacted me to support a campaign or to have a look at their project and then look at their campaign, and they're doing the same thing. I mean, it's 3 years later, so obviously you're very quick with these things. So it's interesting that they're offering something similar to yours. Perhaps you've already buried it and they're looking to resurrect something. So it's interesting. So you've got a lot of experience with this already, so you're not perturbed by any of the delays on manufacturing and things. So I think obviously outside of that, if you have anything in particular you want to say with regards to your upcoming launch for Operator, is it going to be Operator plus Tap launch in the same day?
It's going to be TAP with the TAP application, and
Right.
Operator will have its own separate launch.
Okay. So in May we're expecting to see Tap.
Exactly. So definitely go follow us if you guys could follow us on Product Hunt. I don't know if you would be able to put a link for people to find us. So yeah, just follow along. We'll be happy to have you guys as batch one users or supporters.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Max from Whole Systems, it's been a pleasure to have you today. I think you're at the forefront of where this technology is going to be used. Obviously, it's fantastic what Chat's doing in Claude and Gemini, but in the future, we're going to have wearables like what you're doing, and hopefully, yours is one of the ones that lasts the test of time. And as you say, perhaps an iPhone of the future. It's an interesting concept and a fantastic application. And I hope you all the best. And hopefully, we'll speak to you again soon with some updates and some launches. So I'd like to thank you for coming today. And then hopefully, your next launches do better than this one that although it was an April Fool's, it was still 4th, which some people only dream of. So I hope you all the best in the future, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
For sure. Thank you for having me on. For sure, yeah, and I would be happy to do a follow up with you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.